Entrepreneurial poverty. Have you ever heard of this expression? I hadn't until today. I was today years old when I heard this expression. I don't think I like that expression, but I like what I learned today about entrepreneurial poverty. If we look at our most important resources, we come up with some variation of finances, time, and energy. Now, we could argue all day about which one's the most important, but we're not going to waste time doing that right now. But the bottom line is, if you are short in one of those categories, you too may be suffering from entrepreneurial poverty. That sucks. But there's good news, says our guest on today's show, Racheal Cook. You can free yourself from this cycle of self-imposed abuse. Yep, self-imposed. How? Well, if you are a huge fan of Business of Design, you are, right? You already know the answer. The answer is systems. Yes, we need systems to run our business. We need systems to run projects. That's what we teach at Business of Design. We can solve the finances part of this equation, but we also need systems to run our lives. Now, what some of you are thinking is this: more systems? We need more systems? And I'm going to say, yes, you do. Systems are not designed to make your life more complicated. They are designed to reduce friction in your life. Less friction, more ease. You want more friction or less friction? I want less friction. No more entrepreneurial poverty. Let me tell you about today's guest, Racheal Cook. She is an award-winning business strategist, host of Promote Yourself to CEO podcast, founder of the CEO Collective, and she says she's on a mission to end entrepreneurial poverty for women. Over the past 15 years, she's helped thousands of women entrepreneurs design predictably profitable businesses without hustle and burnout. Sound good, right? If you want to get in touch with Racheal, and I know you do, she's at the ceocollective.com/hello. That's where you'll get the most up-to-date information about what's going on, and Instagram, Racheal.cook. So, are you ready for a lively, engaging, and just mind-expanding conversation? I hope so. I hope you're also ready to hear from Cheryl Horn. She's got the latest news on what's happening here at Business of Design. If you're not yet a member, come on. What are you waiting for? We need you. We want you. I know I can help you run a more profitable business, which will, by the way, automatically improve your life. We're so glad you're here. After Cheryl, we'll get right into the show.
Thanks, Kimberly. There's actually a lot that I want to mention today, so I'm going to stick with the highlights and direct you to businessofdesign.com for more information on any of these items. Coming up tomorrow, Wednesday, September 25th, is our next BOD Live, and our topic is Run Your Business. So many podcast listeners will join Business of Design and immediately start taking the BOD 15, which is how to run your projects. We have 6 other programs dedicated to running your business, and by implementing the systems you will learn in those programs, you can make immediate changes and see immediate results by doing that. So those are the courses that we're going to focus on and answer your questions on. And then coming up, October 26th, High Point Market celebrating 20 years of Business of Design. We have a very full itinerary lasting the entire day. On Saturday, we've got 3 seminars happening with Daniel House Club, followed by a 1-hour presentation at the Suites at Market Square, followed by a celebration, and we also have a panel discussion hosted by Kimberley in partnership with Zena and Daniel House on the Sunday morning. So again, very full lineup. We want to be part of your High Point itinerary. If you are headed to market, please check out those details on the website and let us know that you are coming. Switching over from events to the BOD shop on the site, we actually have 2 new items in there. We just launched Business of Design's new book, Run Your Business. This has actually been a couple of years in the making, and we are excited that it is finally launching at High Point. If you are in attendance, you will be the first to actually get to purchase it and have it in your hand. It does launch on November 1st, but we've opened it early for pre-sales of the print copy of the book, and those will be shipped out on November 1st as soon as we have them on hand. We will have an audio version and an ebook version of this book, and those will also be available to purchase on November 1st when it comes out. But if you'd like to pre-order your physical copy of the book, you can already do that on the site. And finally, something else that we've been talking about for a while is Business of Design's hybrid fee contract. A few months ago, we did a BOD live on this topic. A lot of members are switching to a hybrid model. Like our flat fee and hourly fee contracts, it follows the 15 steps and the other systems that we teach at Business of Design, but we have created a separate contract for it. That contract includes an 1.5-hour video tutorial where Kimberley walks you through the process, because it does combine our flat fee and hourly fee pricing models. So it is a full explanation of both of those processes and how it's explained to your client in the contract, as well as reasoning why you might want to adopt this method. Now, if you are already working with a flat fee and hourly fee contract, you can go back to the BOD live hybrid model that we did a few months ago. The recording is available there for you. And what we did during that call was highlight the differences between the contracts and what revisions you need to make in order to modify your existing contract in order to follow this new process. So available to you, you can either edit the contract that you have or get a copy of the new hybrid fee contract that is now available on the website. Again, it does include an 1.5-hour video that comes along with it explaining that process to you. So again, details on all of these are at businessofdesign.com. And as always, reach out to me, Cheryl, at businessofdesign.com, if you've got questions on any of them. Thanks so much.
Is today the first day back to school?
Not for mine. They've been in for 2 weeks.
Oh, wow. Where are you at, Racheal?
I'm in Richmond, Virginia.
So California starts super early too. 2 weeks in though. Gosh, wow.
It's been new, but it's great. It's just, I've got all teenagers now. So my high schoolers my husband deals with them.
How many are there? Sounds like a football team or something.
It's a lot. Well, I have 14-year-old twins, so they're freshmen in high school, but they're going to 2 different high schools.
Oh, sure.
So,
why not make it hard?
Because yes, exactly. So he has to take them because they're on different sides of our county. And then my youngest is in middle school. And of course, now it's like we went from 0 to 100 when it comes to the teenage stuff. So it's just a lot.
Yeah. Well, I don't have littles anymore. So it's completely out of my element now, which is crazy, right?
Yeah, it is. And having all the teenager moodiness and like crankiness, like they're great 1 minute and the next minute they're completely upset.
That sounds like me. Maybe I'm a teenager.
It's all good.
At least,
Probably for me, it's just the perimenopause. My husband knows now.
oh gosh, yeah. Back off. Back right off. Okay, actually, we're not going to talk about raising kids or perimenopause or postmenopause or anything else like that. But well, that is a big ass cup of coffee you got there. So can you tell I just woke up, like rolled out of bed. If you're watching on YouTube, you picture me with makeup. Just do yourself a favor. Racheal's beautifully made up. She looks completely
I'm not.
pulled
It's a
together
filter,
this morning. Oh, really?
It's the Zoom filter. If you don't know, you can touch up your appearance on Zoom. And so have zero makeup. All I have is sunscreen on.
Stop it. Really? I did use
Literally.
that filter for a little bit and I thought, no, I look too good. And so I didn't want people to run into me and go, good God, what's happened to her? Right? Like terrifying.
I think it's just enough that I can get away without having to do makeup.
Okay, I may just try to do this, especially like this end of summer, like have freckle explosion happening on my face. So it kind of looks like I don't know what's going on. Anyway, I'm awake now and actually, interestingly, super alert and excited about the topic because I was looking at your application and I caught the term entrepreneurial poverty. And I'm like, that's it. Get her on the show. What the heck is that? Can we just jump right in and talk about what is entrepreneurial poverty? I know I've had it. I know I had it in the past, but I'm not even sure what it is. So describe that for everybody.
Absolutely. So entrepreneurial poverty is not just the poverty of not having enough money, which is the first thing we think of as entrepreneurs. And this really shocked me when I realized that 82% of small business owners really struggle with cash flow month to month. It is totally normal to struggle with cash flow. Most of us are, right? And what happens when we're struggling with cash flow is we don't have enough often to pay ourselves. So we are the last person getting paid out of our business.
Yeah.
On top of that, the numbers for women businesses are really shocking to me because while women are the demographic starting businesses at a faster rate than ever before, we make up 44% of small business revenue total, but only 4% of that actual revenue is attributed to women businesses. So there's a lot working against us. Most women-owned businesses are self-funded, they're bootstrapped. We're doing it in between, kid drop off and trying to keep our lives running and trying to take care of our elderly parents. There's a lot working against us. And when your business simply isn't making enough money to truly take care of yourself, it creates this cascade of other issues, namely that you can't afford enough support. So you're burning the candle at both ends, trying to do it all on your own. And it leads to the entrepreneurial poverty, not just of money, but of time, because you're the one holding everything up, and of energy. And this is something that's really important to me because I'm a mom, I'm a caregiver to elderly parents, and I also have chronic health issues. I learned that chances are 1 in 3 of us have one of those 3 issues, if not all of them together. So when we start stacking all of this, it's kind of like a storm of reasons why women business owners are having a hard time having sustainable, successful businesses that actually allow them to both pay themselves well, but also to take really great care of themselves, to hire the help that they need, and to set themselves up for more sustainable success long term.
Hey, designers, just popping in to remind you of the wonders of Daniel House Club. DHC simplifies your design business, offering everything you need in one place. No more wasting time managing orders. They've got that covered, so you can concentrate on creating beautiful spaces. Plus, they offer some of the best trade pricing on top brands like Four Hands, Curry & Co., and Hudson Valley Lighting, with flat rate shipping. To join, visit danielhouse.club and use the promo code BOD2024, all caps, for 50% off your first year of their Pro Plus membership. And for you longtime members of DHC, they want to reward you for your loyalty. Use the code HighPoint2024 at checkout to receive 10% off the value of your next order. DHC is also super excited to celebrate BOD's 20th anniversary with us this fall at High Point Market. They will be sponsoring our seminar series on Saturday, October 26th, in partnership with some of their top vendor showrooms, including Four Hands, where mimosas will be on tap. Join Daniel House Club now and experience how easy managing your design business can be. Wow. None of the sort of percentages you gave surprised me, but it definitely makes me sad. I feel like we are running as fast as we can. We've been female entrepreneurs running as fast as we can, doing everything that we possibly can to keep all the balls in the air. And yet somehow the rules of the game just get changed enough so that we can't quite play on the big field. And I will say I'm super happy Business of Design can take care of your cash flow problems forever. You never have to think about it if you're following our systems, which is great. But that leaves these other areas of entrepreneurial poverty that you still have to take care of, right? So would you say it's a three-legged stool? You mentioned there's the money aspect. You mentioned there's the self-care aspect. What was the other one? There's another one.
Time and energy. Yes.
Yes. So a three-legged stool. So
Absolutely.
let's talk about all 3 legs. Let's break it down that way if that works for you, Racheal.
That's perfect. And, like you said, the money side of it is the one that is the most accessible as far as information out there, right? Like this is what any of us who are business coaches, if your business coach is not talking to you about how to make more money, how to be more profitable, then get a better coach, in all honesty,
and
right?
completely eliminate cash flow problems. Like that's just something you can fix. I believe that
Yes.
that is something you should never
And
have to deal with.
it's very cut and dry, right? Like
Mhm.
once you crunch the numbers, you understand how that works. It's really not as hard to fix that problem.
Right.
Amazingly, the harder problems to fix are the
Yes.
poverty of time and the poverty of energy.
Yes.
And this is where you'll find out I have a lot of opinions about a lot of things, but women
Thank
are,
goodness. How dull to have a guest who has no opinion. I want
well,
your opinions, Rachel. I'm really excited about your opinions on these subjects.
I just find that we have to think about the context and the conditioning of women, especially those of us who were raised in the 70s, 80s, 90s. We were told so much contradictory information,
Mhm.
right? So we are the generation of women who was told we could do anything, we could be anything we wanted to be, we could be successful. But also now, as we all entered the workforce, we have these things that haven't quite caught up to all of the, women's empowerment that we were raised with. Things like the fact that there's still huge inequality at home.
Mhm.
And this is a major issue. Like all you have to do is scroll social media and you'll see people talking about how exhausted that they are, that they're the default parent. They're the ones running their lives at home, that, they are the ones that are taking on the mental and emotional load of keeping their life running. And
Mhm.
that is so hard to fix for a lot of people because it's now we're talking about how do we get the systems in our life to work better for
Right.
us. But
And
honestly, like it's so important. It's one of the most
yeah.
important things. If you want to have more time and more energy, it means you need to build out the systems in your life, not just in your business, but
Mhm.
in your life that allow you to have that. And it also means you have to maybe have some hard conversations and you have to
Yes.
enroll the people in your life. Like we have to go out there and build that village because that village doesn't exist for us.
Right. And worse than that, right? You may be in a situation where you've been living with a partner for some time and you've got all these established rules and protocols, spoken and unspoken. And now you have to unwind them and recreate something that works better for all of you. And like you said, enroll people. So much easier if you're starting from scratch. I,
1,000 times.
right? My mother, may she rest in peace, I miss her a lot. She was from Arkansas. She had a thick Southern accent. Please don't be annoyed with my mother. This is something my mother said. And the gist of it is true. She said, honey, when you're with a new man, you have 7 days to train him like a dog. And that's it. Right. She said, practically speaking, she said, I don't want you to ever take the trash out. You just let the trash fill up and overflow and fall onto the floor. And eventually he will see that he needs to take the trash out. And that's going to be his job the rest of your life. And it's funny, my friends laugh at some of my mother's expressions and sayings, but there's some truth there that it's so much
So
easier,
much truth.
right? So, okay, so if you're listening, don't despair. We realize you already have these relationships, things are already in
Yes.
place. What can we do to begin the process of re-enrollment or re-engagement and creating
Yeah.
those systems you're talking about, Rachel?
Oh gosh, this is so complex and nuanced. So I always try to keep that in mind. I find that most women entrepreneurs have some sort of personal value around their own growth and development, right? So I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that also means that your partner, the people in your life, also have an interest in growth and development in some way. That makes it about a million times easier because they're wanting to also grow and develop and become better humans. But one of our favorite tools that I send people to all the time is a book by Eve Rodsky. And she talks in the book all about, oh, dang it. And I just lost the name. Fair Play. Fair Play is the name of the book. And in that book, what I love about Eve Rodsky is she has a background as a organizational psychologist. She understands operations. And so she uses that lens on how we run our lives and our families. And the way that she does that is she helps people understand what the mental load is by actually saying for each task there is in your life, you have to conceive of the thing, right? You have to see, oh, my kid's shoes are too small. I need to go buy new shoes. You have to know that that is a thing that needs to happen. Then you have to
Mhm.
plan and research. So, where am I going to go shopping for these shoes? What size does he need? Blah, blah, blah. And then you actually have to execute that thing. So it's anybody who's been a project manager knows that these are the parts of putting together any task that has to happen. The challenge that happens is usually our partner will come back to us and say, well, just give me a list and I'll go do
Right.
it. So
So
they're
that dumps the mental workload
still on
squarely
you.
on our shoulders, even though he's going to perform the hero's task of going to the store that you've picked and picking up the shoes in the
Right.
size and style that you picked.
Right.
Yes, yes.
It's it's so crazy when you start to understand how that all works together. And it's so similar to how we run our businesses, right? So I really believe that if you embrace systems in your business, embrace systems in your life,
Yeah.
think about how these things are all connected because it's all, it's all the same. You're working with and supporting and helping humans. So we've got to bring that lens to home. And if we want to free up our time and our energy, if that is the thing that is weighing you down, then we need to enroll the people in our life in helping us. So reading that book, simply looking on social media, you'll find a million people talking about fair play and that whole methodology. But it's just a great way to really start putting all literally, she has a deck of cards of 100 of the most common tasks that we need to do in our lives to run our lives. And the origin of the book was you deal out the cards according to who has full ownership of all three parts of that task. And most women, guess what? We're holding all the cards. And the reason
Right.
the other partner doesn't have the cards sometimes is just by default. They didn't grow up doing any of those things. They were never taught how to do those things. They've had the gender roles in their life where, like, all I do is mow the lawn and take out the trash. Meanwhile, you've got 90 cards on your plate.
Right.
So it's all about making the unseen seen because it
Mhm.
takes a tremendous amount of work to run our lives. So that's one big resource I can share with everybody because I think
Okay,
it's just so powerful.
I'm getting this book today. I'm reading this book this week. This sounds
It's amazing.
like heaven to me. So it's so funny. When I began to think about how systems in my business changed my life, it bled into my life.
Yes.
And my husband started teasing me about all of our systems. And then one time we were on a long car trip. And every time we would pull through a Starbucks window and we'd get our coffees, and he was driving, he would grab the wrong coffee. And I'd take a cappuccino, a little bit of milk in there, and he likes it black. He'd take a sip and he'd go, ugh. And this kept happening. And I'm like, okay, we need a system for where the coffee goes. There's a front cup holder, there's a back cup holder. And so now the system is the driver gets the front cup holder. It's easier to reach. It's like handier. You don't have to look. And it sounds ridiculous, but we love this stupid system. We know immediately where to put the coffee and we never have to stress about it. And that one little tiny example led to dozens of other changes in our lives together where we made those choices.
It's literally systems are not about adding complexity, they're about removing friction.
Hmm.
And another great example is, I've got
Wait a minute, stop it. Please say that again. I'm just gonna
systems
weep with
are
happiness.
Yeah, systems are not about adding complexity. They're about reducing friction.
Amen.
So, a great example too in my home, I've got three teenagers, me and my husband. Guess what we're always looking for is a phone charger. Guess who went out and bought a phone charger for every room in this house?
Right.
Me. Because I
Yeah.
got tired
Done
of
with
the,
the conversation.
yeah, like,
Yeah.
why are we arguing about this? They are at most 20 bucks. Let's just go get a big old Costco size pack of them, put them everywhere, and then I have backup. So there's so many things you can do like that that removes
Mhm.
friction and removes stress from your life. And that's also part of the energy that we're missing, right? Think about how many times in your day you feel stressed out, you feel inconvenienced, you feel frustrated because something's not going as easily as it could. And this is where I love having systems, again, both in business and at home. Anytime I'm like, something is causing me too much stress, then instead of waiting for that situation to continue happening, because it's going to,
Yeah.
instead we just think proactively, okay, what are we going to do in the system? With obviously there is no system or the system is broken. What can we do to eliminate that stress, eliminate that friction, and make our lives easier? And so you just start thinking that way and you realize how much you can uncomplicate things.
Mhm. Unwind, uncomplicate. And then any friction becomes an opportunity to get rid of it.
Yes.
I don't have to deal with this anymore. Why can't I never find my yoga mat? Let's figure out where the yoga mat goes every single time so I'm not running around looking for my yoga mat.
Well, and I think so much of the things that take up our time and energy are also things that we inherited. We didn't design these things. We were just
Mhm.
told this is the way things are supposed to be. So, another great example for me, I was raised by a Depression era grandma who was just fastidious. Like you were never going to see anything out of place. The house was always going to be immaculate. I swear she ran a vacuum cleaner like twice a day. And that level of fastidiousness is just not going to work for my family,
Right,
right?
right.
So
Yeah.
think about all the stories or the habits that you've brought into your life that keep you stuck and cause unnecessary stress.
Hmm.
And so for me, it was like things along the lines of, okay, if we have a dish in the sink, it's okay. The dishes are never going to be done. They're always in a process.
Yeah.
So as long as there's dishes we can use to have our meals, it's okay if there's some dishes in the sink because everything's in the process. They're either being used in the cabinet or in the process of getting washed. There's no done. So
Yeah.
stop stressing about it being done. Same with laundry, right?
Right.
It's always in the process. It's either in your closet or in that chair that we all know all the clean laundry goes on. It's either clean, ready to be worn, being worn, or ready to go in the wash or in the wash. And these are things that, like, when we hang on to them being a certain state all the time, we will make ourselves crazy. And it
Mhm.
becomes a reason that we don't take a break. And I find for women, especially, we have such a hard time allowing ourselves to rest. And because we don't allow ourselves rest, because this mental loop is always going on of all the things that have to be done, we never get a break and it just exhausts us. It runs
Mhm.
us down. And we're doing a lot of it to ourselves because we haven't really examined, like, does this mindset actually help me? Is the
Mhm.
system actually helping me or hurting me? Is
Mhm.
my level of what I think should be done actually causing more stress than it needs to? And
Mhm.
all of that means we're not resting. And if we're not resting, then when it comes time to our business, we're coming in from such a disadvantage.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you have that rare 15 minutes in a day and you think, gosh, I could go do a load of laundry rather than I'm going to, take care of myself and do some meditation or whatever it is, you're robbing yourself of that opportunity. So is this a situation where, like, for example, with laundry, I now have it blocked out. I know what days that's going to happen. And on days it's not going to happen, I'm not thinking about doing laundry. And so I can carve out a little more time for myself by creating these blocks of time to do chores. Does that make sense?
Yes. And I think these are the same time management strategies that work really well in business is just
Hmm.
block and tackle, right? Like you just have blocks of time where you're going to tackle a specific task and you get in the rhythm, you get in the habit of doing it. Just like you get in the habit of showing up and do your marketing activity every week, you build those kind of habits into your life. But I think those are the things that allow you to kind of contain how you're doing things, manage the time around how you're doing things. What I find is the next part is managing your mindset around it. And once you adopt that habit, learning to be okay with the fact that the to-do list will never be done.
Right.
And you still have to be able to walk away and take care of yourself. If we're all hoping that the to-do list will get done before we can rest, before we can take a nap, before we can go on a walk in the neighborhood, before we can read a book or watch whatever we want
Right.
to watch, we have this indoctrination again that the to-do list needs to be done before I can rest. I have to earn my rest. If I
Mhm.
don't get my to-do list done, then if I sit down, I'm lazy. And there is
Right.
nothing that will trigger a woman more than being told she's lazy when she's holding up the world.
Yeah. So it reminds me, years and years ago, I read this quick little article in the New York Times. It was called 1, 2, 3 Done or something. And the premise was you take a post-it note at the beginning of the day and you can write down 3 tasks that are important, urgent, or, you know, you must get them done. And then that's it. Nothing else gets done for the day. And we finish the 3 tasks early. You walk away and you take that extra time to do something lovely for yourself. It was excruciating for me to walk away.
It's so
It's
hard.
impossible. Like I got this done in 3 hours. I have 3 more hours I could work. What's the next thing I could take off my list for tomorrow to get ahead? And I just never ever celebrated anything getting done.
It is such an insidious cycle. I have a
Yeah.
dear friend, Michelle, who a couple years ago lost her grandmother, her mother, and her aunt all up within a few months of each other.
Oof.
And she keeps in her desk her grandmother, her mother, and her aunt's to-do lists that were not finished when they passed. They had a to-do list when they were all sick and ill. And it is like every time she tells me this, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is such a good reminder. You will die with a to-do list. It will never be done.
Right.
But if you want to have the life you really want, you need to be able to understand and believe that you deserve rest. You do not have to earn it. You do not have to earn it. And today is all you have. Today is
Mhm.
all you have. So, how can you make sure today is incredible? If you did your top 3 things and you have extra time, what can you do today to pour back into yourself so that you
Mhm.
can show up tomorrow and do the next 3 things? Because a to do list is never going to end. But as a woman entrepreneur, if we're going to be in this for the long haul, that means we also have to be taking care of our health and our well-being. We have to be taking care of our relationships. I mean,
Mhm.
think about outside of your family, which is for a lot of us who we focus on a lot. But when's the last time you had coffee with a girlfriend? When was the
Mhm.
last time you went away for a weekend with some friends? Like,
Right.
those relationships are some of the most important in my life.
Yeah.
But you have to be willing to say, you know what? No, the to-do list isn't done, but I deserve to have a weekend away with my girlfriends and
Yeah.
do something really fun and just go enjoy life.
So you know what happens so often? I've experienced friends who want to do that. They want to go away for a weekend with the girls. The ramp up that it takes to prepare to go away for the weekend is exactly what you were talking about.
It's so stressful.
Where, right, you have to like, don't forget, little Timmy's got to be at soccer on Tuesday. Oh, and you're the brownie mom, so bring brownies when you pick up, Diana from her dance class. And like the detailed instruction to go away for a weekend takes an extra 8 hours of preparation, which kind of
Yeah.
negates the getting away for a weekend. Like if you want to see if you're carrying too many cards, try to go away for a weekend. See what list you have to leave behind for
Such
somebody.
a great example. And I think this is where I love that you brought this up because I literally went away for the weekend last weekend and I don't have to do anything because my
Mhm.
husband has 1,000% got it. My kids can do what they need to do. We have really unhooked from this being slammed and busy as a family and overscheduled as a family. And I believe my role as a mom is at this stage to help them be as independent as they can. So my kids are responsible for a lot of their own things. And I think that starts very early on because I remember when my twins started kindergarten, I said yes to everything. I became the Girl Scout troop leader. I was class mom. I was in the PTA. And about 3 years into that, where I was literally what you're talking about, like I couldn't leave because there were so many activities and we had so much going on. I was just like, this is insane. This is crazy that I'm myself. But also, it gets to the point where the kids don't even like it anymore when they're overscheduled. So we
Yeah.
decided to just pull back from a lot of that and reduce it down a little bit to, you know what, each kid can have an activity.
Mhm.
And if they're not that into it, we'll find another activity.
Right.
And it's totally okay for them to come home and be bored. It's okay for them to make stick forts or go play with their friends in the neighborhood. I feel like, again, like there's this level of we've complicated our lives. And I really question all of it now because I feel like in a lot of ways it has trapped us into this cycle of busy that it becomes just so hard to unhook from.
Mhm. You mentioned you have some chronic health issues too.
Yeah.
Is that Is that something that made you look at this a little bit,
Yes.
where for somebody who doesn't have that, you might feel like you can keep doing this for a while? Like, how has that impacted your life, Rachel?
Absolutely. So I started my career in consulting, small businesses and entrepreneurs, but not the type of small businesses we're talking about now. It was like utility companies and industrial manufacturing companies, like companies that had hundreds of employees, very bigger side of small business. But I was on the road 70, 80 hours a week. I was living out of a suitcase. And a couple years into that, I started experiencing what we would just call burnout. But at the time, I didn't know what it was.
Mhm.
I ended up having to take a 3-month medical leave because I got to the point where I was so ill, I was sick, I was unable to really get out of bed. I was having panic and anxiety attacks because
Wow.
if you can't tell, like I am a typical like type A go-getter, overachiever, and to suddenly not have the energy you need that matches where your brain wants you to be, it
Mhm.
was really, really hard for me. So that was about 15 years ago when I had that health crisis. And, anybody who has chronic health, you go through what is on average a 10-year journey to get a diagnosis. And essentially, it comes down to chronic pain and chronic fatigue. So I will have times where I have great energy, and a lot of that is dependent on how well I'm taking care of myself, my sleep, how well I'm managing my stress, all of the things that I do to support my health. But there will be times where I can't get out of bed for most of the day because I'm literally like my body feels like it's made out of lead.
Mhm.
So this has tremendously impacted the way that I work. And it's a big reason why I work on average about 20, 25 hours a week. And I've structured my business in a way that allows me to do that. I've
Mhm.
built a team that fully supports that, and they all work similar types of hours. And we built systems in place that allow the
Mhm.
business to run without me always having to be the one, driving it forward. But I think this is one of the biggest things I always say. It's not a matter of if, it's when. Not that you'll have a chronic illness, but that you will have a period where something hits the fan and you aren't going to have the energy to handle everything all at the same time. It could be a
Mhm.
health crisis of yours or someone you care about. It could be losing someone you care about. It could be, a million different things that can happen and really shake up your life. And it could take a few months away from your ability to show up and work your normal hours and do the things you love to do. So a lot of that to me has informed the way that I think about systems, the way that I think about creating more ease, the way that I think about eliminating as much friction as possible, and just making my life and my business as easy as it can be. We don't have to play life and business on hard mode. We can make it easier. We can put it on easy mode if we embrace systems and we let go of all of this conditioning telling us how perfect we have to be, how we have to do all the things in order to be worthy. You don't have to do any of that. Just unhook from all of it. My goal is to be as unbothered as I possibly can.
There's a book title for you. I'm bothered. You should write that book. That'd be good. The thing is, a lot of us listening are thinking like, wow, the like a chronic health problem, that's really, really hard. Do I have to get to that place before I can make these changes? I hope
No.
not. Wow.
Um,
I would much rather be able to learn from someone else's experience. And you're so right. It's not a matter of, if, it's a matter of when for every single one of us. So just,
I mean,
and I think also I mean, you can back this up. 20, 25 hours a week in the zone, you can get done more than somebody who's working 60 hours a week, not in the zone. Sorry.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm such a nerd. I love researching all of this stuff. And on average, most people out of an 8-hour workday are really only getting about 3 hours of work done,
Hmm.
quality work, which
Yeah.
means after 3 hours, there's a huge drop in the effectiveness of that work.
Right.
So if you're committing at least 3 hours a day to doing deep work, and that's what a lot of us are doing, right? We're not building widgets in a factory that's very repetitive and you don't have to think about it or add creativity to it. We are usually people who are taking our experience and our expertise and our education and solving problems, which
Hmm.
requires creativity, it requires deep thinking. That's not something we can sustain for very long.
Right.
So when you're trying to force yourself to work 8 hours a day, chances are, if you were to track your time, first of all, tracking your time will help you see how much time is getting wasted in a lot of the minutia.
Oh,
But you will find that if you can block 3 hours a day where there's no distractions, you're not taking phone calls, your email notifications are off, and that allows you to get your deep work done, you'll find you could probably cut your work week in half really, really quickly because you've focused on prioritizing the most important thing, the deep work, the creative work that requires 100% attention. And then you can shift into meetings and administrative work and all of those types of things, and they won't need to take as long. But you've
right.
got to be able to prioritize the deep work.
This is has so been true in my life. Like I can verify that this is true in my life. And I've also learned like I'm much stronger in the morning. So those 3 hours need to happen in the morning and they need to be time that's
Absolutely.
blocked in my calendar. And there are some days when I wake up and I look at those 1, 2, 3 things I got to get done in those 3 hours and I'm like not excited about it. Tough. Too bad. So sad. You're not going to want to do it tomorrow either. I tell myself, so it's a do it now. Get it over with as fast as possible. First thing in the morning, first cup of coffee, it works really well. Oh my gosh, I could just talk to you for like 109 years. Like honestly, I hope you'll come back on the show. I feel like I would love to have you back again, like often.
I would absolutely love to. I love talking about this so much because I think a lot of women, especially, start businesses not just for the financial success. That's
Mhm.
actually the fourth top reason why
Ooh,
women start businesses. The first two are more freedom and more flexibility.
right. And the
And if
irony is we start these businesses that give us none of that.
exactly. And so we have to really reconsider everything, challenge everything. A lot of business advice out there was designed by, let's face it, pale, stale old men who had the idea that they had a stay-at-home partner who was running their life, getting their dry cleaning, making sure everything was running smoothly behind the scenes. So
Mhm.
we cannot apply that mindset and model 100%, right? We're not even in the same ballpark with what is on our plate versus what was on theirs. And I
Mm.
found this early on when I was starting my business, when I was in the world of consulting, being like the only woman in an office of 50 guys, I was always frustrated when the advice just, I was like, that I'm married, I'm having kids. Like, my life is a little different than what you're describing right now.
Right.
And I think we all have to understand that and use that lens to inform how we're going to do things. And if anything, I hope this conversation gave a lot of listeners permission to challenge everything and ask yourself, does this actually work for me? And if it's not working for you, how can we remove that friction? How can we make it easier?
Mhm. Such a good reminder. You said that there were 4 reasons. There were 3 reasons that came before financial security for females to start businesses. And the first 2 were freedom and flexibility. I can't let it go. I have to know what number 3 is.
Now I'm like, I'd have to find that slide deck because I just remember that money was number four and the other two were
Oh, that's
freedom and flexibility.
hilarious. Okay,
Yeah.
well, we'll circle back with that information because now I gotta like my brain's just gonna go there forever. Fascinating conversation. Thank you so much. We like to end every episode with design intervention, a great piece of advice you want to leave everybody with.
Hmm. Now I'm trying to remember what I said earlier.
Oh,
Systems are there to uncomplicate your life and remove friction. They are not
that's it.
scary. Please don't be overwhelmed by systems. The best system is the one that you will use. And it only needs to make sense to you. It doesn't need to make sense to anyone else. As long as you will use it, and it'll make your life a little bit easier.
Yeah, I love that. I think that I'm going to need some more room on my body for a tattoo for that. Systems are not there to complicate things. They are there to lessen the
Reduce friction.
friction, reduce
Yeah.
friction. Yeah. Okay. Rachel, so good to talk to you.
So good to talk with you. I can't wait to come back.
Okay, well, let's get it on the calendar right away.
We will. We will. Perfect.